Hey guys, welcome back to Marriage, Money, and Mindset. We are your hosts. I am Jared.
And I'm Alexis.
And we are here for episode 4. Episode 4 of Marriage, Money, and Mindset. Hey guys, thank y'all for watching the last episode that we had on managing finances in your marriage. Hope that y'all enjoyed that video. I hope we gave some type of value, something that you can implement with you and your partner, and be able to manage your finances a lot better than what you have been doing.
Right.
Anything you want to thank or say to the viewers before we kick this video off today?
If we said something useful to you in the last video, managing your finances in a marriage, comment below. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like.
Yeah.
Also, thank you for subscribing to our Instagram at Marriage, Money, and Mindset, and our YouTube. Thank you for subscribing.
Yeah. Appreciate that. All the ones that already subscribe, we appreciate you. Hey, and let's get some engagement going, guys. Positive, negative, don't matter, man. Let's just engage with each other. So send some comments down below and, let us know what y'all think about what we're doing thus far. But anyway, so episode 4, we're going to get into it. Today's topic of discussion is going to be, is debt good or bad? Is debt good or bad, right? Okay. But before we get into it, we got to always do our disclaimer. We are not financial advisors, right? So again, this is for educational purposes only. The advice that we give isn't financial advice. It's just educational purposes, right? Okay. So of course we got our handy dandy easel. You know what I'm saying? For the sake of time, we've already pre-written most of our notes. So we're going to get into it, right? So is that good or bad, right? Okay. So first, let's define debt, right? So what is debt? If you want to read it.
Debt is borrowed money or goods that is paid back to the lender, usually with interest.
Right. So of course, obviously most people watching, I'm sure y'all do know what debt is. It's not a mystery. Pretty much all people have it or have had it at some point in their lives. So what we want to do here is start with where you can actually acquire debt, right? So I have Hershey. She's going to be assisting me with the handwriting once again. Okay. So where can you acquire debt? First place, of course, obviously is bank, right? So you want to put banks, your Bank of America, Chase, etc., right? It's common sense. Credit unions, that's another spot. And actually, sometimes the credit unions may have better rates than banks. Usually they do. That's been my experience. So that's another place you can acquire debt. Of course, credit card companies, Visa, MasterCard, you don't have to actually go through a bank to acquire those cards. Sometimes you can go directly to the source and acquire those credit cards. Stores, right? So stores is another place where you can actually go and get financing. You can go to your local Best Buy. They offer financing. They offer credit cards. You can go to, any store really. Cons, finance appliances, etc., right? And then, of course, auto dealers, right? That's another spot that you can go and acquire financing for your vehicle. Again, there's probably more spots, obviously, but again, we just wanted to, give y'all some ideas, because some of our viewers actually may be young and they never heard of debt, and this is, so this is our way of helping people that maybe have never had debt in their lives, right? So of course, these are some places where you can acquire it, right? So let's go over to the next page, and this is going to say, is it good or bad to have debt? Is it good or bad to have debt, right? Okay, I'm gonna ask you, is it good or bad? Of course, we're gonna put the next answer here, but what do you think before we write it? Just out of curiosity, I just want to hear.
There is a bad, what is it called? Like a
connotation?
Yeah, there's a bad negative connotation whenever it involves debt. A lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth when it comes to debt.
Yeah,
I know that debt can be good, but a lot of people associate debt with the bad debt.
That's the mindset behind it. So Let me get you to help me out. Write this down. So is it good or bad to have debt? The answer is it depends on how it's being used. Okay. It depends on how it's being used, right? So we're going to get into more of that, why that is the answer that we came up pertaining to is debt good or bad, right? So bad debt. Okay. Bad debt, it can be high interest debt, right? Credit cards from banks, the stores, consolidated loans, auto loans, mortgages, especially right now, right? Because with the rates being as high as they are, you know, they've literally doubled in the last year, you know, post-pandemic, you know, with the Fed increasing the fund rate, that's causing the banks to have to charge more for, you know, home loans. So another place you can acquire bad debt is going to be your student loan debt, right?
I know student all about that.
This is why I say student loan debt potentially could be bad debt, right? So people go to school, they get in debt, they use, you know, student loans, apparently high interest student loans. They leave college with a degree, and then this is where I feel like it makes it bad, is whenever they acquire a job or career that doesn't even require that degree, right? So when you think about education, if you're going to use financing to fund your education, that's an investment. Right? That's an investment. So the cost, you look at what you paid for your education, and if you're not generating a return on that investment, it's almost, in my opinion, a bad deal, right? Because, I mean, think about it, right? Like,
it was a waste of it.
Well, this money was going to be borrowed from somewhere. I mean, you could have done better maybe using that money for something else that generates a return on investment, right? So that's one way student loan debt can be bad, in my opinion. Credit cards, you just write credit cards. We already touched on that, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, credit cards, guys, self-explanatory. You get these credit cards, the introductory APR may be 0%. 12 months down the road, they jack that thing up to 30%, right? So, you know, we're going to get more into, you know, talking about credit cards, you know, how to be disciplined with it here in a second. Right now, we're just going to finish writing out all the reasons debt can be bad, right? So you got consolidated loans. That's one. I'm going to just run down it. So consolidated loans, that's like a signature loan. You can go to your local bank or credit union. Sometimes they offer that product for, like, let's say, for instance, if you have several different, like a house of cards, right? You got a credit card over here, credit card over there. They can actually take those and consolidate them into one. Usually that's a higher rate too as well. You're usually paying like 9 or 10% on a consolidated loan, or otherwise known as a signature loan, right? Auto loans, right? Auto loans, another example of potentially being bad debt. And a lot of times autos in general, they're never a great investment anyway. Like, you're always,
once you drive it off the lot,
exactly.
It's depreciating.
I'm pretty sure I heard that term. You know, it's depreciating regardless in most cases. I mean, unless you have a vehicle that you purchase that is literally like one of 100, it's a limited edition, something like that. Those cars potentially may appreciate in value, but at the end of the day, guys, if you're financing a car and it's high interest, you know, I've seen people paying as high as 12 and 15%. Or I know of people that's paying 12 to 15% on auto loans. That's high.
Especially nowadays.
Oh yeah. I mean, everything's high right now, man. Well, you know, the economy is terrible. You know, it can be.
Yeah.
You know, I always got a saying: the economy and your economy, right? So anyway, let's get back to this. So the last one we came up with, of course, is the payday loans.
Payday loans.
I've never used a payday loan.
Me either.
How do those work? Explain. Do you know? It's basically, I believe, like almost like a title loan, right? You can go to like a payday place where you, like, let's say if you own your car, right, and you have the title to it.
What's the collateral?
The car is the collateral.
Okay.
Yeah. So you.
Well, I know for a title loan, but for a payday loan.
Well, I'm assuming it's like almost the same, right? The payday loans is a place where you can go and, you know, acquire cash for a title Okay. Or maybe I'm just thinking like a car title.
There's some sort of collateral.
Yeah, basically collateralized. Something that's had something of value that you can basically lend.
To get the cash now.
Right. And a lot of times, again, high interest on those items, right? On that product, okay? So saying all that to say, bad debt can be defined simply as borrowing money that you pay back the individual, has high interest rate associated with it, and you gain no return from using it, all right? Okay, so that's bad debt. Pros and cons. I started off with cons for bad debt versus starting off with the pros, and I'm gonna show you why we did it this way here in a second.
Okay.
So Hershey, okay. So the first con for bad debt, opportunity cost. Opportunity cost, right? So the servicing of debt, it usually robs you from the opportunity to have money to invest, right? Because debt usually comes again with interest. So when you think about it, let's just give you a scenario. If you have a crazy interest rate, 50%. So for every dollar you're paying towards this particular product or whatever you borrow money for, if it's 50%, for every dollar you pay, half of that's going in interest.
Right.
That's an extreme example. But again, it's robbing you from being able to have funds to invest because you're having to pay back interest plus the principal balance of what you borrowed, right? Second reason, second con, it impacts your credit score. So you just write credit score. So having a terrible credit score, right, obviously makes it challenging to obtain new credit or even get better rates, right? Credit scores, I mean, that's literally like your report card,
right.
For how well you operate when you borrow money, right? So, if your, credit scores range, what is it? Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. I think those are the three credit bureaus. If you go to get a loan, you go to the bank, they're going to run your credit report. And those are the three bureaus that they're going to use to judge whether or not you're a good borrower of money, right? Or, you're basically how well you borrow and pay back. Do you pay back on time or do you have a ton of credit, right? Some people, man, they have a high utilization of their credit. That can actually ruin your credit score as well, right? If you have a utilization of 30,000 and you're at
more 30,000, than 30%. Usually it's not good to go over 30% utilization.
Right. Exactly, right. Third thing, financial stress, man. Financial stress. Having a lot of bad debt, it can literally cause people anxiety, right? Especially if you struggle to make the payments. Some people, man, they get themselves in a bind. They go and, just charge up their cards, then they find themselves in this position maybe where they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You ever heard that saying? It basically taking the funds off one card to pay the funds on this card, building a house of cards basically. And that's stressful. That's affecting your health now, right?
Just digging that hole deeper and deeper.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, that's not a good deal. And then the last thing is stress on relationships. Kind of goes, with the financial stress. Just cause you just put relational stress as well. Some partners, man, they get in arguments. They start resenting each other, and it can sometimes, unfortunately, turn into a divorce, right? Which again is something that we're not promoting here. We're, promoting love and happiness. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I mean, again, we don't want you to have bad debt and go through any of these, right? So let's talk about one pro. I only found one pro for debt. Y'all ready for it? For bad debt. You ready?
I'm ready.
The only pro.
What you got for me? The
only pro for bad debt is this. Here, you write it. I'm not even gonna say it. I just want you to write it. There isn't none. There's none. There's no pros, guys. Bad debt is not good. It's not good, right? There's no benefit for having it. I mean, I guess maybe you could look good on credit. Like if you have a lot of consumer debt, you know, your clothes, your car, you know, all the debt sky high.
Living above your means. It allows you to live above your means.
So,
like you see the people stunting on social media.
Yeah, that could be one.
Yeah.
But the reality of it, guys, is there's no pros for having bad debt. All right.
Okay.
So let's keep moving. Let's keep it going. Good debt. What is good debt?
Good debt is debt that can help you purchase investments that generate a greater return than the interest owed.
Okay. So let's break that down, right? Debt that can help you purchase investments. Okay, let's pause right here for a second. So purchase investments. So you can actually go out, guys, and acquire debt from these same places that we talked about earlier, banks, credit unions, and actually use those funds to purchase something that can appreciate in value and or pay cash flow, right? Generate a return. And then the second part says generate a greater return than the interest owed, right? So of course the idea when you're using debt, we're gonna get into it here in a second, we have some more, but you would prefer to use debt that's low interest, right? Or even if it's a higher interest rate, let's say for instance, you're gonna have to borrow money at 5-6%, okay? Well, if you work out your math for, let's just say, a real estate deal, and the potential that you can make is 10, and you're borrowing money at 6, well, there's a spread of 4%. So you can generate a higher return on investment than what the tenant is actually paying down, not you.
Right.
So yeah, but yeah, that's in a nutshell what good debt is, right? It's basically when you borrow money and you generate a return off of it, right? Also, that can also compress the time it takes to earn the amount needed for opportunities, right? Let me see the pen real quick. So I'm gonna give y'all guys an example real quick, right? Let's just say, for instance, if somebody, you know, is wanting to borrow money to get, you know, back to real estate, a single family, okay? Down payment for a commercial loan, you're looking at 15 to 20%. Let's just round it up to 25,000 for the, you know, because you're gonna have closing fees associated with it, et cetera, right? So 25,000, right? So let's say if there's a way I can access 25K from either equity I already have in my primary residence, right?
Right.
Maybe I have a brokerage where I can borrow in the form of margin. That's a way you can, you know, acquire it as well. Or you can go the traditional route of just saving it, okay? But check this out. The reason I would prefer, if you have a way of accessing a down payment versus saving, let's just say, for instance, this is, you know, you're going to need the 25K, right? Let's just say if you only able to save, you know, $2,500 a month, all right? Okay. That's going to take me how long? Do the math teacher. 2,500, my goal is 25. I need 25. How long?
You don't put me on the spot.
I'll do it for the sake of time. That's going to take you 10 months, guys. Yeah. Right? The reason why this strategy, in my opinion, isn't the best is because, for one, the opportunities are time sensitive. So 10 months to save 25K, especially if you have a way of accessing the 25K for an opportunity, you may miss that opportunity if you go with this option. Say, well, I'm able to put away $2,500 a month, about 10 months, you know, 10 months down the road, I'll have it and I won't have to use the debt. Well, again, you potentially may lose out on the opportunity. The opportunity may not even be relevant anymore, right?
Right.
And then also, looking at today's economy, back on economy, the economy could change. So, you know, you look back 10 months ago, interest rates were actually lower than what they are today, right? So imagine if you would have financed the deal or accessed your funds 10 months ago to acquire the deal, you would actually have a lower rate versus waiting the 10 months. And again, the deal could be gone, right? So that's one reason, in my opinion, why I feel like using debt wisely compresses the time it may take for you to have to go out and actually earn the money that you need in order to use for opportunities, right? So let's keep it moving, man. And guys, I know we may be kind of speeding through this, but again, you know, this is archived now on YouTube, and you can actually watch this again and again, as many times as you like. By the way, subscribe to the channel. Go follow us on Instagram if you haven't done that. You know, give us a thumbs up,
comment. If you have any questions.
Back to the show.
Shoot us some questions.
All right, so look, and this is kind of like redundant from the last one, you know, ways to access good debt. Here, I'm gonna get you to help me again. We already touched on one of it, or a few of these actually. So margin, right? Margin from a brokerage. So if you have a brokerage, you know, TD Ameritrade, Schwab, Fidelity, most of them offer option where you can use margin, right? Margin is literally just borrowing against your shares, you know, your stocks, right? So
that's the collateral.
That's the collateral, right? So assuming you have, let's just call $100,000 in stocks, right? Or the value of your shares are worth $100,000. Most brokerages will allow you, if you opt for that option, to actually borrow up to a certain percentage against your positions, your $100,000 worth of market value. And it just depends on the shares, you know, or the companies, you know, like I know certain companies, every company is different. That's one thing I noticed by speaking to our brokerage customer service once before, you know, in most cases, I feel like you can go as high as like almost 60% sometimes, guys. So you're talking about being able to leverage up to 60%. I wouldn't advise it to go too high because you don't want to be over leveraged, right? Meaning, like, let's say if you have a margin call where the shares go down in value, and then you have to either deposit more money or consider selling off some shares. But anyway, and again, we're going to talk more about the stock market. You know, a lot of this verbiage may not be clicking right now. But again, you got Google, guys. So, you know, Google, if I said something that you don't quite understand, go Google it.
Or ask us in the comments.
Right? So let's keep it moving. So the next one, credit cards, okay? Credit cards, that's a way you can access debt, good debt. Only when the user has discipline, right? So having discipline, and then of course, if you can catch low interest credit cards. You know, back to discipline, man, you know, if you charge a card, man, look, if you know you're not going to have the money the following month after that, it's probably not wise to use that card. You know, you gotta, you know, back to what we mentioned earlier, you know, accumulating too much debt affects your credit score. And then that in turn affects you from being able to use or have access even more debt in the future. So of course, you know, be disciplined when you do use your credit cards. You know, if you charge something, have a plan, a strategy on how you're going to pay that down. Exactly, pay that card back, right? So student loans. It's crazy, right? Some of this stuff was actually bad and now it's turning good, right? And back to student loans real quick, guys. So, you know, again, my definition of you know, if you're using student loans to fund your education, again, if you get a career in the degree that you've achieved, to me, that's a great investment, right? So that's a way you're using debt in a good manner now, right?
Yeah, versus your job is gonna pay down that debt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least you got what you seeked out to get, right?
And in return, you get a salary, and that salary is going to help pay down those student loans.
Yeah. Well, that's another conversation too, I think, because some people that happen, they have the job that they went out to get, but it's still not enough to help them with their student loans, right?
Okay.
But in theory, student loan debt, if you get in it and you get a career or profession that's the degree that you went to get, then in my opinion, that would be using it in a good way, right? Yeah. Okay, and then of course, two more. Commercial loans. Commercial loans, kind of touched on it earlier, probably not so much right now. But here's the cool part. So I think about our commercial loans for the properties we have, right? We took advantage of the rates when they were low by modifying our loans. Right. So technically, we're actually hedging inflation. I'm explaining that real quick what that means. So right now, of course, if you want to get money to purchase a property, the last time I checked, you're looking at almost 8% on that loan, okay? Our commercial loans are 50% from that, 50% off from that. So we're like at 4%, right? So we're locked in. So you can't get money for 4% right now. Exactly. You can't nobody's offering that product right now. It's probably not gonna be offered for a while, actually. Just because, of course, the Fed's again increasing the fund rate to compress to get inflation back down. Their goal of 2%, right? So, and like I said, another cool thing I want to mention. This is something I bet people wish they would have taken the opportunity. Like, people are sitting on a lot of equity in their homes. Getting money out, even if you didn't need it, right? Because here's the thing. The money sitting in your home isn't working for you, right? There's some people out there that have 100% of equity in their homes. That money is retired. It's not working. It's sitting on a hammock, relaxing.
This is a sticky one. People don't like to hear about this one.
Yeah. Well, this is just, I'm just being honest. I'm just telling you from my perspective, our perspective, the way we evaluate equity, right, in your home. So again, if you're sitting on, let's just say, using that scenario, 100% of equity in your home, that money is not working for you. Right. Now, if you had the opportunity to go back and, let's just say, get a small home equity line of credit or a home equity loan, it doesn't even have to be up to the, I think most banks and credit unions allow you to take up at least 80% of your value out. So let's just use the example of $100,000. Let's say if your home is worth $100,000 and you have 100% of that in your home, that means you could have gone to the bank and got $80,000 out. Yeah, I know you're starting over the process of principal and interest. However, if you know how to use that wise, which is what we're attempting to educate our viewers with, you can actually have someone else pay that down, right? So, but the cool part is just having that cash set aside for an opportunity versus in your home. Because let's say an opportunity presents itself today. Well, you're not going to go access the cash out of your home now because it's 8%. But during the pandemic, 2020, I know people were getting loans as low as 3.5, So that's a huge difference, and that's fixed rates that people were getting. So for 30 years, some people. So it's just been, like I say, having certain loans or the opportunity to access capital out of your home and just have it set aside for opportunities is always something I recommend.
Meaning assets.
Don't
go cash out, refinance.
You're not going to buy the new car.
To get a pool put in the backyard.
Exactly.
Or renovations. That's not paying you anything. Yeah, exactly. It's not paying you a return.
Right. And then we're going to hit on that in a second, our criteria for debt. But let's continue. Okay. So the last place you can access, and we actually use this during the pandemic, is SBA. SBA, right? That's the Small Business Administration. You remember during the pandemic, SBA actually offered, if you had a business, legit business, they were actually giving grants to folks, up to $10,000, I believe, per business. So, I know we took advantage of it. And then they also offered the EIDL loans, right? The economic injury disaster loans. And that was like real low interest as well. Yeah. But, SBA is a place, of course, where you can go if you're starting a small business, you need assistance with financing funding to help you grow or start or even grow your business. That's one place you can, go and look, right? So before we get into our criteria, let's just sum it up. So good debt, of course, it's almost the opposite. It can be defined as simply borrowing money that others pay back, right? Has low interest associated with it, and you gain a return from using it, okay? So it's literally the opposite of the bad debt, where someone else pays it back, it's higher interest rate, and it's usually no return from that investment, right? So is that good or bad?
It can be both. It depends on how you use it.
Bad. It's not really bad or good, but rather, like you just said, how the individual uses it, understands the risks associated with it, and then also you want to have good management skills with using debt. That's a must, right? So what advice would you give the viewers if they are currently in bad debt?
I would say set out a plan to pay that debt back. I wouldn't necessarily say pay the minimum It just depends on what they have going on. But basically come up with a plan to pay that debt back. Okay. So that they can free up that cash flow or that income to get into something that's paying them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's obviously one piece.
You want to get out of consumer debt.
Yeah,
the bad debt.
Right, exactly.
And get into good debt.
First thing, guys, stop digging. She said it earlier, and I'm saying it. Stop digging the hole, okay? You're obviously in a situation where, you know, you're digging yourself probably in a hole deeper than you wanted to go. You don't want to keep going down, right? You don't want to keep digging, okay? That's first thing. Like she mentioned, you know, strategize. Consider consolidating your loans as a strategy. That's one thing. I've actually done that in the past when I got myself in the jam, like not a big jam, but, you know, I was able to consolidate my debts. And, you know, it was a learning experience for me, you know, went through the situation and got it under control before it got out of control. I stopped digging and I strategized. So, you know, we already talked about getting educated on how debt can help you grow your income and business. So, you know, you have to, you know, just make your mind a sponge and saturate it, just absorb as much wisdom as you can pertaining to, you know, good debt. Or the way to use debt, right? Because it's not bad or good, guys. It's really not. It's just all on how the individual uses it. Right. So speaking of how the individual uses it, we have 3 things that have to meet our criteria before we consider using debt, right? So we have 3 things that has to check. We have to check these 3 boxes if we're going to use debt. So the first thing, of course, usually is have to be money on sale. Has to be money on sale. What does that mean? So money actually is a product, right? You can actually go to a bank and borrow money. The money is the product. Of course, it comes with a cost. Preferably, we prefer borrowing money at a lower interest rate. Or, like I mentioned earlier, if the return, right?
Pays you more than the debt costs.
Exactly. Yeah, you said it for me. Yep. Okay. The second box we have to check, we have to use the debt to purchase an asset that appreciates in value and cash flows. However you want to summarize that. I know I kind of...
Say it one more time.
So use the debt to purchase an asset. We have to purchase an asset, right? We're not borrowing debt, guys, to go and, you know, purchase automobiles, purchase, you know, frivolous things, right? Spending on things that don't basically, you know, cash flow or appreciate in value. You know, you back to cars, right? It depreciates in value and they don't cash flow. Now, can you cash flow a car? Yeah, you can. You know, there's Toro. That's a place you can use. There's what? Uber.
With your personal vehicle. And
so that's
when
the
you're
thing.
not using it,
right.
You get creative.
I know this video isn't about assets and liabilities. However, just touching on it real quick. Sometimes you may think you're purchasing an asset, but in actuality, it's a liability, right? The way I define an asset is something that pays me whether I work or not. Liability is something that basically it's the opposite. It doesn't pay you, and you have to pay it most of the time, and it usually goes down in value, right? But, you know, if you're financing a car, it again depends on how you're actually using that car, right? If I buy a car, I finance a car, and I actually use it for business purposes, and it cash flows, I mean, it could be an asset, right? And then the third point being, it has to be paid down by other people. That's our criteria, right? So we want to get the money on sale, cheap money, cheap debt. We have to use the debt to purchase an asset, right? And then we also want that debt to be paid down with OPM is what she wrote, which is acronym for other people's money. OPM.
I like that.
Yeah, right. So again, guys, and this is another thing I want to touch on real quick. You know, I hear people all the time, they say, you know, my goal is to be debt free and then I'll be free, right?
Right.
So you got to understand, there's really 2 terms that I think a lot of people may be getting these confused, right? So it's debt free and then there's financially free. Okay, there's a difference. Yeah. So debt free isn't the same as being financially free. To achieve financial freedom, it would almost certainly require to use debt. That's just the reality of it, guys. So, you know, if you don't have any debt at all and you plan on living the remainder of your life that way, just know it's going to be a challenging lifestyle simply because
it just takes you longer to get to your goals, to achieve those goals.
Well, let's think about it. A house, somebody who wants to buy a home, right? Assuming that they don't have their own place and they say, I refuse to get in debt. I'm just going to spend, I want to use 100% cash to purchase my home. Okay.
Isn't there an acronym for that? Like a mortgage, an old saying?
Tell me.
I forgot what it is, but I think it's like the meaning of a mortgage is pay it until you die.
Yeah, it sounds
something like that.
Yeah, I think I've heard something like that. Yeah. But anyway, guys, like, look, I said that basically to say, understand what you're doing. If you want to be financially free, sometimes debt isn't like, if you're going to be debt free, right? You're probably not going to be financially free. That's just the reality of it. It's very challenging to always use cash for everything. And then again, guys, debt isn't bad. It's not a bad thing. In my opinion, it's actually a tool.
Big companies are using debt.
That's the thing. See, the country in debt.
Right.
Big time debt. You know, that may not be good debt.
Large companies can use debt. What's the difference of you using debt?
Exactly. You can
look at how to use it for the good.
Exactly. You got companies, like for instance, Apple, man. You know, if you look at their balance sheet, there's debt on it, right? And they're worth billions, actually trillions, 3 trillion. Little shy of that right now because what's going on with China. But anyway, so again, like I said, going forward without using any forms of debt will be challenging, and it also costs you opportunities, right? So we're pretty much getting to the end of this video, guys. We want to leave y'all with an exercise. So I want Hershey's going to explain the exercise for y'all that we want.
Okay, so the exercise today, 9 times out of 10, you're using some form of debt. So ask yourselves this question: how much am I earning or losing in return for the current debt I have? So what's your cash on cash return?
Well, I mean, they probably don't understand cash on cash, right?
How much is that debt costing you?
Exactly, guys. The point is basically this: add up all your debts, right? Look at what you have currently and ask yourself this question: am I getting any type of return from my debt that I have, or is it costing me, right? So just evaluate your situation. That's just an exercise. We want to give y'all something, to do whenever y'all, finish watching this video. And, and then put it in the comments, let us know what, if you mind sharing, if you don't mind sharing, what's going on with you. And, if this video helps you at all, understanding debt a little bit better, or if it didn't,
let us know.
Let us know either way, right? But again, guys, so like, share, subscribe to this channel. Go follow us on Instagram as well. At Marriage, Money, and Mindset. Same thing on YouTube, Marriage, Money, and Mindset, right? All right.
Share this with a friend, with a coworker, family member. Subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
Exactly.
Until next time.
See y'all next week, guys.